everyone, I'm Brandon with ElectrIQ Marketing. Using Semrush, we helped an online wine retailer increase its non-branded search traffic by over 600%. Here's how we did it. When Wine Insiders came to us back in September of 2019, they had a lot of organic search traffic coming to their website, but it was all branded keywords such as Wine Insiders. So our focus was to drive non-branded keyword rankings for them, such as red wine, white wine, as a new form of customer acquisition and to help them continue to grow their business. We started with competitive research and utilized 4 of Semrush's tools in order to actually build out our strategy, taking a look at what competitors were ranking for, what we were missing that they were ranking for, and if we were both ranking for it, what was the gap between our ranking and their ranking, so that we could start to build out our content strategy, utilizing metrics we knew were working for other brands. First, we started with Semrush's organic research tool, which allowed us to take a deep dive look behind the scenes at what competitors were ranking for on search. And this is where we started to actually ideate what keywords and what content pillars we were going to build out for Wine Insiders. After that, we took a deep dive into the actual specific analytics behind the content that competitors were ranking for. We used Semrush's traffic analytics tool, which allowed us to take a look at things like bounce rate, see how many people were going to those pages, identify which of them were the top pages, so we could see, okay, this one is going to be the most beneficial for us to target first with Wine Insiders, because it's always important to get quick wins and then start to build out the strategy thereafter. The third aspect of our approach was backlinks. No matter how great your content is, it's never going to show up unless you have a strong backlink profile going to your website. So we put each of our top competitors into the backlink analytics tool, and we're able to determine these are the publications that we want to reach out to with our new pieces of content to see if they will include a backlink to us. The last step of our process was to use the keyword gap tool, and we actually uncovered something really unique out of this process. We saw that a lot of traffic was being taken by indirect competitors. So wine educational blogs that didn't actually sell wine, but were taking those first page results from us and thereby taking potential customers from us. And so we used a keyword gap tool to identify gaps in our keyword profiles versus theirs, but also gaps in our keyword profile versus our direct competitors, both paid and organic as well. And so from there, we were able to say, these are the first 10 keywords that we want to target, and then start to actually map out our long-term content strategy. Based out of our research with these 4 Semrush tools, we were able to come up with the idea for a central hub for wine educational content for Wine Insiders, which we called Wine 101, which would serve as their organic traffic hub for the rest of 2020 and onwards. So after we identified our main pillar, which was Wine 101, we dove into keyword research so that we could start to identify what we call mini pillars, which essentially ended up being red wine, white wine, and within those 2 mini pillars, every varietal for those specific ones. So red wine has Cabernet, Montepulciano, and so on. White wine also has its own varietals. And so that was our foundation for the mini pillars that we would build off of. And then within those mini pillars, there was long tail keywords that were easier for us to rank for immediately. So we had a nice mix of those in combination with ones that were much more difficult, but we knew we wanted to rank for eventually. So Cabernet, for example, which has like 74,000 searches a month versus Montepulciano, which has like 9,000. The Montepulciano, much easier to rank for, lower search volume. Cabernet, a lot harder to rank for, but a lot more search volume. So we intermixed both of those into our content strategy so that we could prove out quick wins for Wine Insiders, but also have long-term success as well. We used Semrush's domain overview tool to show to Wine Insiders that there was an actual attributable cost to the clicks and traffic they were going to get through our organic content by showing them how much competitors were paying Google Ads for those keywords. So for example, competitors were paying $3 for a click on Montepulciano. Well, if we have an organic piece of content that's showing up on the first page, we're getting that traffic for free. So we were able to utilize that to actually prove out an ROI in terms of, by having this piece of content, you could be saving $3,000 of ad spend because you're going to be getting that traffic organically now. So once we had our mini pillar topics and we had the content that we were going to write within there, we actually had to decide what are we going to put in those content pieces. So we used Semrush's keyword magic tool, which allowed us to identify what are people actually searching for within these specific topics. So for Cabernet, for example, what are some frequently asked questions that people are looking for in search. So let's make sure we include those in the content piece. That way they're showing up as featured snippets. We're actually providing relevant information. And there would have been no way we would know what people are looking for on a varietal by varietal basis unless we use the keyword magic tool. We could have educated guesses, but we wouldn't actually have hard data to back up the strategy that we were going to implement for the client. Now that we had our long-term strategy, all we had to do was execute and create SEO-friendly content that would engage the user. So we used Semrush's topic research tool, which allowed us to identify the proper H1s and H2s that we wanted to include in the content. But my personal favorite was the mind map tool, which would show us basically in a circle every piece of potential related content, so we could make sure to include that in the article itself. Then, using the writing assistant, we actually plug that into Google Docs, which allows us to share our content with the clients so they can provide revisions and feedback, but also allows us to use the power of Semrush's writing assistant tool, which checks for tone, originality, readability, and also SEO friendliness. And so that gives you a score 1 to 10, and we made sure that we always hit a 9 or higher to make sure we were maximizing the effectiveness of our content creation. So it was great that we now had this long-term content strategy for Wine Insiders, but we needed to make sure we were covering the fundamentals of SEO and taking a look behind the scenes at the technical aspect of the website. So we set up a weekly audit of Wine Insider's site to make sure that they were compliant with best practices for Google, and basically to make sure that we weren't shooting ourselves in the foot when it came to ranking for this content. Because no matter how good the content was, if we didn't have those underlying fundamentals, we were going to get basically taken down in search because of the fact that Google would penalize us for that. So we made sure to have those weekly site audits run, and then we'd provide reporting to Wine Insiders and also go ahead and put those changes into effect on the website to make sure that we were improving that score on a week-over-week and month-over-month basis. Now that we had covered everything SEO and content, we needed to make sure we had a way to prove out the ROI of our efforts. So using Semrush's reporting tool, we were able to set up weekly and monthly reports that would be sent to ourselves that would show us specifically how we were ranking for non-branded keywords. So we excluded any keywords that included the term insider because that would effectively take out any branded traffic. And then we also excluded any keywords that had a search volume of 500 or less because while it's great if we're ranking for those long tail keywords, we wanted to prioritize the ones that had more impact for them. So those really allowed us to prove out the ROI to Wine Insiders and allowed us to make sure we continue to create that Wine 101 hub of content to the point where we've now written about 85 different pieces of content for them that live on that pillar page. Once we went ahead and implemented the content strategy, we were able to see results very quickly. We were actually able to increase their total organic traffic by over 170%. But the most impressive part about that was non-branded search traffic actually increased 600%. So a bulk of their improvements came from ranking for keywords like red wine, Montepulciano, and really had nothing to do with their branded search. And we were also able to triple their annual revenue coming from organic search because we essentially created a new form of customer acquisition for them, a new funnel that was entirely free other than the cost of the content creation. And so people searching for Cabernet would come through to the website, learn more about it, and then have a natural path to either sign up for the email list or to go ahead and make a purchase right away. And so that's how we were able to really create this new funnel of customer acquisition for Wine Insiders.